I'm almost speechless this morning. You celebrate July 4th, we the people, and you won't let us talk about it? Let me give you a little history on a certain developer. In 2010, he spent over $960,000 to get a strong mayor. He got the mayor in his pocket. Sorry, that's what happened. This year, he sent out an email saying, vote for the following people. He got them. Problem. Real problem. If you're not going to allow conversation on issues, we no longer have a representative form of government. We have socialism, totalitarianism, etc. I will be back. I was traveling. I will be back with a list of things that happened because of the strong mayor and other things. Negotiations behind closed doors, time and time again. That is not how to run a representative government. I'm sorry if I'm offensive, but I grew up believing in the United States.
Fine. Please introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Oh, awesome. Always a delight. President Helms and Pro Tem Crow Iverson. I wanted to speak briefly about the meeting yesterday. It was quite a show, very predictable. Look, zoning should reflect the will of the people, and all these dingbat comments about property rights, what really you should be saying is developer property rights. A property right is not a use right, and I have 4 examples of Supreme Court cases on this issue that I'm going to share with you to educate you. Penn Central Transportation versus New York City. They wanted to build the developer build a skyscraper next to Grand Central. The Supreme Court upheld the city ordinance saying no on heights. Goldblatt versus Hempstead in 1962. That denied a development on a skyscraper again on character of the neighborhood. Agnes versus Tiburon in 1980. U.S. Supreme Court stepped up again and preserved open space and prevent overdevelopment. And then the Village of Euclid versus Amber Realty in 1926 was all about building height restrictions. Zoning is a police power to protect the public health and safety and welfare of the people. And we're the ones that get to decide the future of our city. And the solution to yesterday is campaign contribution limits. We've sent you an ordinance that caps donations at $100 per individual or group, as well as $10K in matching funds. This is exactly what Boulder does. It's awesome. It makes it about ideas, not ideology, and it will provide us with leadership that represents the people, not a few rich guys who send a bunch of postcards. And that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you very much, Dana
Next
Dugan.
for the attorney. Mr. Attorney, should we declare ex parte communications, conflicts of interest, et cetera, before we go forward?
I would encourage council members anytime that they have a conflict of interest to disclose that as soon as possible and recuse themselves. If you've had ex parte communications, you should disclose those as well.
Then I would just suggest we do that. We typically do it by going down the dais and asking people to address it.
We do that when council elects to do so. If the council president would like to do that now, we can.
I believe that was your recommendation that you just gave us.
I did not make a recommendation along
Yeah, I
those
did not
lines.
hear that. If you feel that we need to make that,
Mr. Donelson, if you have something you wish to disclose,
I
you
do
may so.
not. I do not. But 3 members here at the dais have received $2,500 from Widener in their campaign for this office, and I think they should at least address that.
I would note that a campaign contribution is not a conflict of interest.
thank you for that. Yeah.
I think citizens would like to have that information, though.
Yeah. I guess we'll do this because I don't see the need to do that, and I certainly don't think that's an appropriate thing. But yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Councilmember
I have no
O'Malley.
conflict.
Understanding that campaign contributions don't represent a conflict, I don't honestly recall whether or not I've received a campaign contribution from Widener or anyone associated with them. I would have to go back and look at that information, so I can't comment on that, unfortunately. I would like to disclose that I've had a couple of conversations with Mr. Todd Baldwin, who is the owner of the Red Lake Brewing Company, but they have been more around the logistics of this hearing and not anything material, and certainly nothing that would, in my view, affect my ability to be impartial as it relates to this matter.
I've had no ex parte communications, and also 3 years ago, I don't know if I ever received any campaign contributions from anyone from Widener. I have no idea.
I have no conflicts of interest.
I certainly have no conflicts of interest. And I know absolutely I did not receive any campaign funds from any of those groups. And I just want to comment too, honestly, I just think that's inappropriate to bring that kind of information up here. It makes no sense in what we're trying to get to today. And that's my comments.
I agree with you, Mr. President. So all I'll say is I have had no ex parte communication.
And I've had no ex parte communications or any conflicts of interest. I do think citizens deserve to know that three that will be acting as judges here have received $2,500 contributions each from Widener.
Understanding that this is not a conflict of interest, I have received a campaign donation from Widener. I honestly cannot remember the amount. I would have to go back and look, and I agree. I don't think that this has a place here.
I do not have any conflict of interest. I have had conversations. Laura Newman, we work out together, and we casually talked about, hey, you looking forward to tomorrow or something like that. So, but we do see each other at the gym. And then I've also had a casual conversation with Todd from Red Leg, but really not any details. It was just more of, hey, we got this thing coming, huh? So it was just very more casual, nothing very detailed.
Okay, with all
Criteria.
that,
And since we're postponing to a date certain, we're actually in the hearing. And I would, to go back to my concern that citizens are going to feel that the jury is stacked here, I would ask my three colleagues to recuse themselves if they received $2,500 from Widener, and it is Councilman Risley, Councilman Lineweber, and Councilwoman Talarico.
I'm sorry. I'm going to jump in here. As the City Council President, we have an obligation up here, and I absolutely believe this is impugning our council members' integrity up here, and I'm just not going to put up with that. And I just got to say, that's just inappropriate. And
Mr. President, I'm not impugning their integrity. I'm just saying it creates the appearance.
You're creating the environment that causes people to question that.
Anyone can look
especially
it
when
up.
they don't recuse themselves. No one has ever, okay, this is it. I'm talking about city council policies, procedures. We want to be civil up here to one another, and we do not criticize council members, and I take this as criticizing council members. And I'm asking Councilmember Donelson to stop with that particular thing. It's just not right. And I respect the hell out of you, Councilmember Donelson, but there are things that we do and that we vote on and that we say that we don't come on the dais and then complain about that about other council members. We just don't do that. And so, again, I would ask that we stop with that. We get through this. This is the main issue. This is our issue. And I don't want any other, as council president, I don't want any other council members speaking to this. I don't. I really don't. I want to move on to the subject. If after we get through the vote, council members have every right to talk about anything they want, but I'm stopping this right now, and I'm looking, I see Councilmember Hingham. It's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I want to thank you very much for your statements just now in defense of your fellow council members. I would like to say that when the question was raised, and we all responded, as we typically do in a quasi-judicial hearing about any conflicts, of course, I knew how to answer that. I felt really put on the spot to think back 3 years ago of the, 250 people who donated to my campaign. Was I supposed to make sure that I didn't have somebody donate? I mean, it's not even an appropriate question in this setting. And so I just want to thank you, Mr. President, for standing up for your fellow council members. And as our attorney said, a campaign donation does not constitute a conflict of interest. We are elected to represent the public. We take an oath of office to do our best to serve the city, and that is what we do. And if you don't like what we do, then vote us out. But thank you, Mr. President, for standing up for your council, and I don't appreciate it is an impugnment by a fellow council member, and I'm really not appreciating it. Thank you for your support, Mr. President.
Okay. I don't want to drag this thing on, and I ask council members to respect that. But we're all council members, and we certainly have. And so with that, and I appreciate Councilmember Hingham's words, I really do, and she's right on. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Councilmember Donelson.
Yeah, Mr. President, I felt it was important to do that today. After the vote yesterday, when council, the 8 of us here, none except myself, were willing to send the resolution to the work session, which had strong citizen support. And I realized upon looking at it today that 3 of those who voted on that received $10,000 each from the O'Neill Group, and 1 other, and that would be...
I'm going to stop you there, Councilmember Donelson. I am going to stop that right there. That's clearly you didn't hear anything that I said about that. An individual can, our financial records are all public. They're probably still there, and people can look them up. Calling out dollar amounts is wrong. I don't know why I have to keep saying that. Councilmember Tallarico.
I just want it said for the record to my fellow council member that I am deeply offended that you would bring this up and that you would make accusations that you know how I or anybody on this council is going to vote. I am offended by that, and I just want that noted.
I'm not, Mr. President, I'm not making any accusations. I'm simply saying that to citizens, this can create a severe appearance of a conflict of interest.
It creates an appearance by you bringing it up and making it an issue when it's not appropriate.
Well, if honesty creates a problem, I'm guilty.
It's public information. So, okay. I love and respect all of my council members. And with that, I will go around the room. Let's see. No, we've got a couple more items on here. Any items added from the agenda?
There are none.
Thank you. The executive session, Ben, do we have any executive session this afternoon?
No, sir.
All right, I'll go around the room.